Welcome to PENSARE Basketball. The Toronto Raptors win. They get their revenge against the lowly Washington Wizards, who took a note from last game's mishap win and decided to rest Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton. And when you saw that happening, you were like, I wonder what the Raptors are going to do. What is going to be the chess move on the other end? And their chess move was to play RJ Barrett, a very motivated RJ Barrett, on the eve of the 1 year anniversary of his late brother's passing. Rest in peace to Nathan Barrett. And also to start Jared Rhoden. And it wasn't Jared Rhoden who was necessarily the revelation in this game. It was off the bench AJ Lawson. So big game for Canada. Because RJ Barrett dissected the heck out of the Wizards defense, routinely getting into the paint, finding catch and shoot, open catch and shoot over and over. It was back to back. It was in strings. Sometimes it was 3 threes in a row. Sometimes it was 2 threes in a row. RJ created a lot of offense for the Raptors tonight. The Toronto Raptors also set an NBA record. This was not in the cards coming into this game, with 73 rebounds in a game. Now, if you look back across NBA history, you will find that the record for most rebounds in a game is actually north of 100. But most of the records for most rebounds in a game are from the 70s and the 60s, where offense was terrible. Players didn't know how to score. And so there were more rebounds. So what do you need to get a lot of rebounds? Well, you probably need a lot of offensive rebounds. Check. The Raptors got that. You probably need the other team to be abysmally bad. And check. The Washington Wizards are that. And you probably need a really high pace of play. And this game was basically a pickup game. This was a summer league game. And I don't think that either team took it all that seriously. You had Jordan Poole trying a lot of crazy stuff, right? You had the Raptors. I don't think, yes, BBQ did play tonight. RJ Barrett wasn't particularly efficient, but I do think he was the best of the three. Emmanuel Quickly was just taking crazy shot after crazy shot, and a lot of dry heaves at the buzzer, a lot of poor offense, poor process, and Scotty Barnes really struggled again. Back-to-back games against the Wizards. Do I take anything from that? No, not really. I don't really think he cares all that much about what's going on in terms of the overall process. I think he cares that his team wins, but in terms of his individual performance, I mean, the Wizards in March probably isn't a game that he's getting too high for. But off the bench, it was AJ Lawson with a 32-point double-double off the bench. Crazy, efficient, really just great attacking. The Raptors shot 39.5% from the field and 32.7% from three. This is just a game of volume. They just took a lot of shots. They made a few more shots than the Wizards, who were somehow, even worse than the Raptors in terms of efficiency overall. And there were some highlights, man. There was a great dunk from AJ Lawson. A lot of AJ's offense was created for him by others, which I think is probably great. It bodes well for the type of role he may have with the Raptors next year. Will remain to be seen whether Mississauga native AJ Lawson. I mean, someone correct me if I'm wrong. He's from Mississauga, right? Some people keep saying he's from Brampton. I think he's from Mississauga. So someone please Google that and correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool that he and RJ Barrett have this sort of chemistry, having known each other for a very long time. It's obviously that, they're always looking for each other on offense. I think tonight, a lot of the playmaking duties came down to RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly. And I think the Wizards are just terrible defensively without Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton. Like, they really do not guard. And one of the players who does guard, he went out in the first half with a really scary fall and was listed out for the second half, and that's Bilal Coulibaly. So, yeah, I think that's what it is. Is he from Brampton? For real? Okay. Someone please double check that. Okay. All right, let's take a look at what happened in this game. There is, of course, more news for the Raptors tonight because the reverse tank, the reverse standings are on, and the Raptors. Okay, can I do something here? Hold on. Let me just say something real quick about this. Thank God for Josh Giddey. Can I just say that? I've talked a lot of shit about Josh Giddey. I really, the allegations that came out, I've probably said way more than I should for a guy who's been clear of those allegations. But the allegations were so damning that I think I took a lot of shots at Josh Giddey. But right now, Josh Giddey is single-handedly saving the Raptors from making the play-in, because Josh Giddey, and okay, let us also thank you, Pascal Siakam. Thank you, Pascal Siakam, for forgetting the score in the last game against the Atlanta Hawks. Look, right now, if you're the Raptors, the math is the math, okay? When you are mathematically eliminated, it will become a lot easier to rest everybody until that day comes. And unfortunately, that day has been prolonged indefinitely because of how trash the Eastern Conference is. And because 10 teams have to make it, unfortunately, the 10th team, being as bad as the Chicago Bulls are, has left a window open for teams like Brooklyn, Toronto, and Philly to still realistically make it. So really, at this point, the Raptors are partially in control of their destiny because they have multiple games left against Brooklyn, who are they are neck and neck with right now after Brooklyn just beat the LA Lakers. And they have multiple games left against the Philadelphia 76ers, including Wednesday nights. Very important game against Philly. However, none of this actually matters all that much if the Bulls keep pulling away. And the Bulls are currently blowing the shit out of the Indiana Pacers with 1 minute and 17 seconds to go in the fourth quarter. And that is in large part due to the play of Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey has been incredible, to the point where, let me just put it nicely, Josh Giddey's last 10 to 12 games have probably been on par with like any 12 game stretch in a row that Scotty has had, at least offensively. I mean, he's got 29 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists tonight. Let me just take a look at just the last few games of his: 21, 12, 8, 19, 12, 8, 8, 7, 6, 19, 9, and 13, 26, 12, and 10. I mean, my God, he's doing a great job. Like, those are the last 5 games for Josh Giddey, and he is single-handedly pulling this Bulls team into the play-in. And because the gap of 5 games exists, every game the Raptors win and the Bulls win, the gap remains the same. And so basically, Josh Giddey is making it mathematically. He's making it so that the Raptors don't have to, I don't know, in the last 2 weeks of the season, be like, oh, we're 2 games away from the play-in. What will our fans say? No, you might be 5 games away from the play-in, and you might mathematically be eliminated. So honestly, I agree with you, Jack. The 2021 draft is crazy because guys like Josh Giddey and Trey Murphy have really, really shown out this season. They've had some really high moments. Cade Cunningham, obviously, people will not let me forget about it, but he's been great. Evan Mobley is now a 92 on NBA 2K, which is crazy, but also very good. And Franz Wagner, been awesome. Jalen Suggs, awesome. So that 2021 class is really living up to its expectations. And the guy that I think is the best player from that draft, Scotty Barnes, is having a hell of a, like, the last 2 weeks, like really bad offensively the last 2 weeks. I don't care too much about it. Obviously, I don't read too much into what Scotty's doing late in the season. He's never struck me as a guy who would stat pad against bad teams. But yeah, I mean, some of the bursts, some of the slow footedness, some of the predictability, some of the rushed attempts around the rim, I don't think have been great. And this is not great defenders around you, right? Alex Sarr's got some length. Keyshawn George is a pretty decent defender. Bilal Coulibaly has some length, and he's given some star players some trouble. But you should be able to get 25 points easily and efficiently against the Washington Wizards if you're Scotty Barnes. And I just don't think he's really asserting himself very much right now as a, like, he just does not seem all that interested in doing anything other than defending, connecting, occasionally diving to the basket, making connective passes, making a good read in the pick and roll. But he has not looked like the best player on the court in any game, like, over the last few weeks. Like, maybe there's 1 or 2 games in there that have been sporadically, sprinkled in there. And yeah, I think a lot of people have been very, very critical of him. And, it's as much as I want to defend it, it's like, you can defend the player. I don't know if you can defend the performance. So yeah, he's missing a lot of bunnies around the rim. Looks really rushed, constantly looking for fouls. Just, it hasn't looked great. It hasn't looked great for Scotty. So you can definitely say which Scotty do you believe is the real Scotty? Do you believe Goggle Scotty is the real Scotty, the one running point guard? And, do you believe the one earlier in the season is the real Scotty? Do you believe the struggle one is Scotty? Do you believe, last year's 3-month stretch where he shot 39% from three is Scotty? Which one of these do you believe is really him? I don't think this game necessarily the sort of pickup style, everyone for themselves, everyone kind of just spread out, everyone take wild shots. I don't think this game necessarily lends itself to his strengths, but one player whose strengths it does lend itself to is RJ Barrett. And I think RJ played pretty well. Okay, let's get off this and get back to the Raptors. Here, in terms of win probability, the Raptors never, ever surrendered the win probability in this game. Like, they walked in very, very much favored to win this game, 7.5-point favorites. There was a point where it kind of got, let's just say, close, because the Raptors once again somehow found themselves trailing at the half. But after halftime, it was just a bloodbath. And it was just that third quarter. AJ Lawson hits 3 threes in that third quarter. His, overall performance was awesome. Just take a look at the, the filters here and just put AJ Lawson. So those are his baskets, man. He made threes from everywhere. So this is an AJ3, an AJ3, an AJ3, an AJ3, an AJ3, an AJ3, and an AJ3. So it was all over. It wasn't just, okay, 7 corner threes. No, he was hitting from everywhere, and he got to the line and he boarded. So really, this is one of those signature type of performances up there with the Malachi Flynn, 51, 52 point performance with the Detroit Pistons. Yeah, I mean, shit, we've had players like this. We had a huge, if I remember correctly, Jalen Harris performance in Tampa. Like, that was a big one. You know what I mean? Like, it happens late in the season. You play really bad teams, and you're gonna have games like this. But nothing that AJ Lawson did tonight isn't replicable. He was pretty open. But sure, like, the Raptors have had Ochai open a lot this season. Grady's been open a lot this season. A lot of corner shooters are open when RJ or Scotty get into the paint and kick out. But unfortunately for the Raptors, very often this season, a lot of players have not hit those shots. Well, credit to AJ. He hit his shots and he's making the most of an opportunity. And, the Raptors, for their part, I mean, they're doing everything they can to lose, but there just wasn't enough that you could do tonight to lose this game. I mean, it's worth noting that Immanuel Quickley and Scotty Barnes were -2 in a game in which you won by 15. That's hard to do, right? That's hard to do. They both shot very poorly from the field. Scotty shot less than 33% from the field, so close to 30% from the field, 6 for 19. Immanuel Quickley shot 5 for 12. The aforementioned, some crazy shots. Absolutely. I don't necessarily love the offense going through Immanuel Quickley as much as it does. I feel like he's so much better without the ball, but hey, like, you want to get these reps in for him right now. It's sort of a tragedy for the Raptors to some extent. I don't want to call it a tragedy because it sounds like I'm being very dramatic, but it is a little bit tragic that this would be the time that you would be getting Grady and Jacoby and Ulrich and Jonathan Mobo, like, some very, very much needed minutes. And instead, those minutes are going towards guys like Colin Castleton, AJ Lawson, and, Jared Rhoden. And there's no disrespect to those guys. It's just, I have no idea if those guys are going to be on the team next year. So it's like, you really are just developing them for somebody else, unless you're planning on keeping them. I don't know. It would just be, I think this season right now would be just a lot more fun if we were watching 30 minutes of Ulrich as opposed to 30 minutes of Orlando Robinson. But nevertheless, credit to Orlando Robinson. He had a double-double, plus 17. The Wizards did not play. They did not play Richaun Holmes, which I think was extremely important, because as Richaun Holmes is as a basketball player, like, he would eat this team inside. Like, he is so much stronger than Orlando Robinson or Colin Castleton that I feel like the Raptors would have surrendered like 15 offensive rebounds had he actually been on the court. So clutch, right? Like, Marcus Smart, it's scary to say that, the Raptors were so depleted with the rest of their lineup that even a BBQ plus, all these G League guys probably is going to struggle against Richaun Holmes plus Chris Middleton plus Marcus Smart. So clutch on the Wizards organization for not playing those guys. Overall, let's take a look at some of the the highlights and key moments from tonight. Hang on one second. Let me just pull this up. Also, to those of you who did not watch the moment with Pascal, yo, two does not hurt. Can you give me a can you give me a hallelujah for this shit? Okay, everybody knows this is what happened last night, and I'm only bringing this up not to be a Siakam hater because I was so irritated when he did this for the Raptors. There was a game, if y'all remember, where Fred VanVleet takes a three, a very wild three, a turnaround fadeaway three, and it was 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds left on the clock, and the Raptors were down 3. I remember this very clearly. And Pascal Siakam gets the offensive rebound, and instead of kicking it out with 2 seconds to go, he ends up trying to put up a layup. And I remember thinking to myself, my God, basketball IQ is really just not a teachable thing sometimes, right? Look at this. So the score is 118-116. The Hawks can give up a 2, but it's now 119, right? So it becomes 119-116. The Pacers need a 3. There's 7 seconds to go. And here comes a Pascal Siakam. So Andrew Nembhard dribbling up the court, dribbling, hands it off to Siakam. Siakam beats Dyson Daniels. Dyson's like, what is this guy doing? And he just lets him go. And Siakam does not pick up on the clue. He does not kick it out to the corner shooter who is clapping for the basketball. Instead, with 2.4 seconds to go, 1.9, he decides to dunk it, costing them the game. The look of Rick Carlisle was like, God, I hate this guy. Like, that sucks, but also that helps, right? Because it pads the win total for the Hawks a little bit, kind of pushes a little bit more distance between the Raptors and the Hawks and the Bulls and the Hawks. So it's cool, man. And I don't know, like maybe it kind of, I feel like tonight what you saw, like the Bulls coming out and stomping the Pacers, the first thing I thought when I saw this, that bus ride is going to be real fucking quiet, because that's the type of thing that really it's, I don't want to say it sinks your season, but that's such an unserious move from one of your veterans that it kind of just you kind of lose trust. You know what I mean? Like, people to this day talk about that play where Andrea Bargnani took that 3-pointer when I think it was like the Knicks, he takes a 3-pointer and they're up and there's no reason for them to take a 3-pointer. And I think they lost the game, if I remember correctly. And people were just like, I cannot believe that. That's the type of play that, it really just changes your team's trust in you in close games. So yeah, that's a really tough moment for Pascal Siakam and Indiana Pacers. Okay. Moving back to the Raptors. Okay, RJ Barrett, starts out very much attacking the rim, right? As he often does. This one, lefty, high off the glass. He makes it. Very nice. And the aforementioned, the implications of tonight, the Raptors, did a little bit of a tribute prior to the game for his brother. That is still a really heartbreaking thing when you think about it. And, you could see his father, Rowan Barrett, Canadian legend, wiping some tears out of his eyes. This is a really, when I think about RJ and I think about Rowan, I think about like, it's interesting. I was thinking about basketball state, Minnesota basketball, and how Gabe was talking about basketball families in Minnesota. Like, there's certain basketball families. There's families that produce like 6, 7 types of players at Division 1, Division 2 pros. I think of like Rowan Barrett, RJ Barrett. Like, I think that's like a basketball family. It's like basketball royalty in Canada. So it's a huge loss for all of us, when we think about it. But here, RJ Barrett, once again, boom, just physically just moving Corey Kispert out of the way, finishing and one, does not get the call, but nevertheless. Here, RJ Barrett, this is not the first or the last time he would do this game, but watch this, how he sucks the defense in, and the Wizards are just so bad. They've got 3 guys on him, and I think the Raptors spacing for the most part was really good. That's an open shot. And I feel like that play, several plays like this, and watch this. It's almost identical. And this one's going to be the Jamison battle, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, it is. Here we go. Boom. Gamble, Bub Carrington, wide open 3. You know, it's not like I don't rate this. It's just shots like this are just not available against half decent teams. Like you're not getting open shots like this. And I appreciate Bub Carrington. He gets a little bit chippy with players. He got a little bit chippy. He kind of throat cut. He almost karate chopped Emmanuel quickly in the throat at some point in the second half. I do appreciate players who don't back down, but it's like, yo, chill. Anyways, I'm not hating on it too much. I respect it. It's cool. Okay. As I said, AJ Lawson just cannot miss. These are just wide open, catch and shoot, all the time in the world. These are practice shots. These are open gym practice shots. And the Wizards just had no problem giving them up. Now, I said Jamal Shead is such an underrated athlete, and it has a lot to do with his burst, his quick first step, his gather, his ability to kind of contort himself midair, how high he jumps. Sometimes those contests that he makes, it's like, wow, like he really does have a little bit of explosiveness vertically. And I said this prior to the big dunk. So this is just like athletic, that's going into a 7-footer, taking the contact and still having that finishing ability. And I mentioned last year that Darko was just doing a great job of improving players' finishing ability. And whether that was Emmanuel Quickly, whether that was OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, I thought RJ Barrett, like a lot of guys are just getting better at finishing around the rim. And here, I think Jamal Shead and Jacoby Walter are just getting so much better at finishing around the rim. And I don't think it's a surprise. It's Darko. So here, RJ Barrett, just another wild shot. He had a lot of those tonight. Credit where credit is due. He dissected the defense. He found guys for open shots, but he got blocked a few times. He took a lot of really wild, sort of, crazy, ill-timed, contests at the rim. You respect the assertiveness, but sometimes you wish he could be a little less assertive and a little bit more measured with his drives. But nevertheless, here it's on the rim. The smallest guy on the court is going to rise above and then looks like that is a scary play. First of all, it's a little bit scary because if you see the angle that he's on right now, if he does not hold on to that rim, his career is over. So it's just like the coordination to just yam it, like he was angry at the rim. Jamal Shead was angry that day, my friends. It was awesome. It was great to see. And it's like in moments like this where you're charging people 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, 200, 300, 400, $500 to watch a fucking glorified pickup game between two of the worst teams in the NBA. It helps to have highlight moments like that, where the fans can get a little bit juiced up. So, credit to AJ Lawson for giving the fans one of those moments, and credit to Jamal Shead for giving him one of those moments. Here, another back-to-back RJ Barrett finding three-point shooters, right? This is just terrible defense. But here, they overcommit. Wide open. Like this just, it's all night, just wide open. And if you thought, yeah, I don't know if he can keep doing it. Yeah, man, another one. Just get into the paint. What do the Raptors keep saying? Paint to great. Well, paint to great. There you go. Another wide open 3-pointer. I don't know what it feels like to be a Wizards fan right now, other than they have better shot at Cooper Flag. But man, I really hope Cooper Flag does not go to this team. I really hope that. And here, just in case you thought RJ Barrett's probably done, yeah, he's done. Jamal Shead picks up exactly where RJ left off. And he's going to get foot into the paint, wide open 3. Wizards are asleep, and boom. It's just a culture. It's a culture, man. Now, speaking of exciting moments, this dunk was angry. It's like this dunk was just like, sometimes the guy goes up and he kind of just, soft, a little bit soft. No. This dunk had a little bit of ferocity to it. Check this out. Orlando Robinson, one of the prerequisites of every big in the Raptors system, needs to be able to pass. He's averaging career highs across the board as a passer. I'm sure Colin Castleton All these guys, every big who comes into the Toronto Raptors system is going to average career highs as a passer. It's just that's their system. And here, great pass, ass defense, and just yams it. Awesome. The aforementioned record that the Raptors set. So the most rebounds in a game this season prior to the Raptors tonight was 70 by the OKC Thunder, and then 69 by the New Orleans Pelicans, 66, 65, 65 by the Rockets, Hawks, and Heat, respectively. The Raptors shatter that, going for 73, a record that I think will probably hold unless the Wizards decide to do more of this buffoonery against other teams that are even more capable of rebounding. So yeah, I mean, you set an NBA record rebounding without arguably your best rebounder in your three best rebounders. I would argue your three best rebounders are probably are Jonathan Mobo, Jakob Pertl, and Chris Boucher. I think Scotty's probably fourth. So the fact that you were able to set this record without playing your best rebounders is actually pretty insane. And I would argue Over should probably be up there as well if he got some minutes. So yeah, that's interesting. If anyone wants to call in, please call in. We definitely we could have a lively discussion about, tank odds or whatever. I'm not really sure what to make of these games at this point. What can you glean from them? What is the big takeaway? This is a pickup game. This is a pickup game where you are playing a lot of pieces. Your starters are playing at half gas, right? They're not accelerating. They're not pushing any pressure. They're not like trying to go out and really just embarrass the other team. I think it's just like, we're just going to exchange baskets and see who's up, and then just give it to whoever's up in the fourth quarter. And, last game I was very upset. I think part of why I was upset last game, apart from the, relentless stupidity around some of the Scotty Barnes takes on this channel and beyond this channel, I think it was just because it's really frustrating to watch the state of the NBA. So I wonder how we can fix this. I do wonder how we can. I mean, we have had teams that have been trying to lose since the 40 game mark. Shit, what am I talking about? We have the Raptors who've been trying to lose since the first game. They've been doing everything in their power to pretty much tank these games. And you're watching this like very bullshit product, and it's very easy to just sort of seduce yourself into thinking like that how players are playing in these situations is an indictment of those players or some indication of who those players actually are as basketball players. And I don't necessarily think that's the case. I feel like so often we have seen players in losing situations and they just really they don't have it juice wise. They just don't have it defensively, offensively, efficiency, all of it. And then sometimes those players get traded into a winning situation and you're like, oh, damn, like I didn't know this player still had this. And that's a good case, what we saw with Andrew Wiggins, when he went from the Minnesota Timberwolves to the Golden State Warriors. It doesn't always translate. Sometimes a losing player is a losing player. But you think about last year with PJ Washington, you think about Derek Jones, you think about, even guys like Kelly Oubre, who, again, like you move a player from one situation to another and the context completely changes and the intention with which they're playing basketball changes. And you really start to feel like, oh shit, like this is a much better player than I was watching earlier. So I think the saddest part about watching the Raptors right now is watching a whole bunch of players sort of half-ass it. And that's not necessarily that I'm blaming those players for half-assing it. I understand that there's a human component to looking up at the standings and knowing that you are the fifth worst team and the organization is basically doing everything in their power to tear it down. But I think that you would be best to look at situations, at least if you're looking to evaluate Emmanuel Quickley or Scotty Barnes or RJ Barrett, you would probably be best to look at situations in which these players were in positions where their team was trying to win, right? And yeah, I mean, at this point, again, you're just getting reps, right? Reps are important. Reps are important for chemistry. Learning to play off of each other is important. I just think maybe I would feel a little bit better about these reps if they were more in line with how I think the Raptors will actually play next year, right? Like, again, I'm saying it twice, so I apologize for repeating myself, but I would feel a lot better if we were seeing a lot more of Jacoby and Grady, right? but because of injuries, we can't. Or if we were seeing more initiation possessions for Scotty, or even if we were still seeing 7, 8, 10, 12 threes a game for Scotty, just getting those reps up, right? If we were seeing RJ take on the primary defensive assignment every single night, and that was just his role, like I kind of like the earlier part of the season where we were putting players in very uncomfortable positions to just allow them to succeed. Whereas right now, it kind of doesn't feel as much like that. It more feels like we're just letting players be who they naturally are inclined to be. We're like, hey, Scotty, you want to be connective and you don't want to be super assertive offensively and you want to take, a big defensive load, you go ahead. RJ Barrett, you want to play pickup basketball, you want to handle a ton of possessions. Emmanuel quickly, you want to take a whole bunch of wild shots, like boom, go ahead. And I just feel like the structure of the tank was more appealing earlier in the season than it is right now. So that's just where I'm at. But I do hope that the Raptors get healthier soon. And again, there were some positive contributions tonight. There were some positive moments from Colin Castleton. I looked him up, looked up some more tape of him from the Florida Gators. He played 5 seasons, 3 of which, the last 3 seasons he played with the Florida Gators. He did get better throughout college, so that's impressive. And also, understated fact, which I haven't heard, said anywhere else, but he has a 7'4" wingspan, which is great. And, it's been really hit or miss offensively with Colin Castleton. But, if you told me the Raptors try him out in summer league and they see some progression, this is a guy who has some tools to potentially stick around as like a third string big. He certainly has some tools. But yes, if I'm being honest, next year, if Colin Castleton, AJ Lawson, Jared Rhoden, I don't know if these guys are going to be on this team next year, guys. You sold out over Resident 1. Please explain this. I don't know what that means. Sold out? What did I sell out? Cool. I agree, but it generated a ton of offense for the Raptors. Hope so. I'm a big Scotty fan, but it's hard to watch him struggle to score against the Wizards. Dirty money? What's wrong with you? Huh? Did you see the Jacoby and Shead carpool karaoke video? Yes. Yes, I did. And that was hilarious. And, shout outs to Lindsey Dunn for consistently being one of the more, I'll say more, less, at least one of the media members in Toronto that doesn't make me cringe every single time I see her. I think she's great. Like she's really, she seems to really respect the players. Players really seem to vibe with her. I really like Lindsey Dunn. I really like Kayla Gray. Those are my faves in terms of the Raptors media. Oh, and of course, Blake Murphy. The vibes of Bench Mob 2.0 are amazing. Yo, I mean, when you saw after the game, everyone went up to, AJ Lawson, right? What are you doing, man? Like, okay, TMI, I have been sick for the last 4 days. I don't usually get sick, but I have been sick. So I don't really have a lot of patience for this. Like, I don't know. I don't know what you're doing right now. I don't have a lot of patience for this, guess who clue shit that you're doing right now. Just be a man and just say what you got to say. Dirty money. You sold out. Like you are one stupid comment away from getting banned. Like so close, so close. You've been prepping for your debate against Finesse on the panel. How do you know I have Finesse West on the panel? How do you know that? Did they release it? So personally, it's a funny thing. So I'm a part of the Players Choice PCL, right? And I did not do super well the last time. So this time I've adjusted my tone and I'm not talking as much shit this time. But they put me up against this dude, Finesse West, And I actually, if y'all remember the day before the All-Star weekend when the entire PC crew went, we had a real Raptors 905 type of, panel where it was me and I think it was Ron and I think it was like 3 people who most people hadn't heard of. And one of them was Finesse West, and I really didn't like this guy. He was this dude wearing red, and I just kept like talking shit to him the entire time. And yeah, I wasn't too surprised I when I drew him in the PCL. Now, of course, pressure's on me. He has everything to gain. I have everything to lose by losing this. I know the topics. I don't know if you guys know the topics. I'm not overly passionate about any of the topics. So I'm really hoping that I don't end up getting stomped in the first round, but it certainly could happen. I'm not walking in with any level of like bravado or extreme confidence at all. They showed the tournament bracket today on the panel. Love it. Great. Rob, rule of thumb, if someone doesn't say anything coherent and is accusatory, either ignore them or ban them. Please stop giving these guys the time of day. Yeah, sure. Why are you condoning the tank? Condoning? There's nothing to condone. I'm not condoning shit. What do you want me to do? Sit up here and cry? Be like, oh my God, the Raptors are losing basketball games. Oh my God. Really, really wish that we could make it to the 10th seed so that we could hopefully win 2 road games and get stomped by the Cleveland Cavaliers. I told you, I don't care. Like, again, I care that this team goes out and does not embarrass themselves. This is an organization. It is an organization with a 30-year history. Some of that history is great. Some of that history is not so great. And frankly, maybe this is sentimental or emotional, but I don't necessarily want us, to be throwing games in very obvious ways against the Washington Wizards at home, because that's going to be a part of our legacy as a fan base, right? So they would be a scary 8 seed. They don't look like a scary 8 seed right now, though. The way that they're playing, Scotty is playing, I want to say average, but if Scotty doesn't play great, if Emmanuel Quickley and Scotty don't figure out like a way to click, if Brandon Ingram doesn't come back healthy, if Jakob Poeltl isn't properly integrated into the lineup, if the new role that Grady would have with this lineup, because Grady's been a starter pretty much the entire season, so watching him come off the bench will be interesting to see if what that would look like. Yeah, in theory, the Raptors have a lot of pieces that make them a very exciting 8 seed. I would say they look exciting as an 8 seed for sure. That's exactly it. He does not seem very inspired, and inspiration can change. I'm not saying that the Raptors look, again, one part of the equation for the Raptors making the play-in was that Chicago was going to free fall. If Chicago does not free fall, the Raptors do not have I don't think the Raptors are going to make up that 5-game gap. So at this point, you're really either going to be 7th or 5th, right? And obviously, I understand that most of you are rooting for 5th. I guess it'll come down to Wednesday. It'll come down to what happens against the Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers managed to lose tonight. The Raptors are now a half game ahead of the Sixers. We can take a look very, very quickly at the Tankathon, which is, a frankly frustrating thing that I really hope we don't have to do again next year. But here's the reality of where we are, okay? Half a game, 8, 8.5, 8.5. That's where we're at. 22 and 43 versus 22 and 42, 22 and 42. So win against Brooklyn or win against Philadelphia on Wednesday, and you go down to 7th immediately. And then Philadelphia goes up to 5th, which is very important for Philly because they owe their top 5, their pick is top 6 protected, and it is outgoing to the OKC Thunder. So I think the implication here is that you really don't want Philly to get a top 3 pick. Like, as much as I want the Raptors to get a top 3 pick, that's almost as badly as I don't want Philly to get a top 3 pick. The reason I say that is because they're a division rival. They're a conference rival. They're a team that we have met many times in the playoffs. And they are also a team that, frankly, without this draft pick, is pretty much fucked. And because they are sunk, I don't feel like helping them out. Now, they're obviously going to get a significant boost next year because Jared McCain is going to come back. Do I want them to also get a top 3 pick that they could potentially use? I don't know, to to spark a rebuild, or even to get off one of their, nasty contracts. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Because you never know. Like, you never know, like, how an organization like that is going to use that pick. But I actually think, with a new coach next year, they could be a pretty decent team if they get a top 3 pick as well. So I would personally just love for the Philadelphia 76ers to convey that pick to OKC. And the Raptors have a large part to do with that, because the Raptors and the Nets can pretty much bump them out. Now, obviously, if they end up with the 7th and they move up to 4th, they keep their pick. But at this point, they're much more likely to keep their pick if they finish bottom 5 than they will if they finish bottom 7. That's just math. So, yeah. I just think in college, experience wins, man. I mean, people want to talk about Cooper and Dylan and Ace and those guys, but the truth is, like, the best teams are typically like the ones with a few seniors, at least, a couple good seniors. That usually helps. You look at those Gonzaga teams with Drew Timme, and it helped. Julian Strother. Okay. I'm trying to think if you've said one coherent thing the entire stream. And I think basically your hit rate of coherent comments is lower than Scotty Barnes' hit rate of 3-pointers right now. You're shooting like 8%. Okay. Is Nick Nurse toast on the Sixers? 100%. Yes. James saying Ingram trade was much needed. Our offense is not the best. It'd be interesting to see what his role will be offensively and how much the Raptors adapt and how much he adapts, because as it fits right now, how he plays is almost counterintuitive to how the Raptors play. But I'm looking forward to seeing how the two sides can sort of mesh, and they can use some of the best things about Brandon Ingram, and Brandon Ingram can use some of the best things about the Raptors offense, because I think that his assists will go up in this offense, which is crazy because he already averages like 5-6 assists every single game. But I think, my panic meter is 0. I'm not panicked at all. Like, it doesn't faze me. I know who this guy is. I know what he's capable of. Overall, like, for sure, you'd probably feel a little bit happier if he was like 23, 24 points per game on better efficiency. But overall, I don't sweat this shit at all. Like, he has always been the type of player that does better with better players and does better in winning environments. We've seen this right from his rookie season to big games, and I just feel like you put weapons like Brandon Ingram and RJ Barrett and Grady Dick, and you put these guys around him, and you put these moving targets, and you put that impetus, like, okay, we're gonna go win now. Like, he could average 22, 10, and 8 next year, maybe 22, 10, and 10. And yeah. Completely. He does not seem at all checked in at all. Yeah. I mean, anyway, I am very surprised. I don't want to jinx it right now, but I'm very surprised that I have managed to go an entire live without coughing, because I have been coughing like a motherfucker all day. At the point is the vision still for this organization? I don't know about that. I mean, I if I was running the Raptors, he would be my point guard of the future, but I can certainly understand why you might want to move him to the 3. I just don't see the point of moving him to the 4, because now you're making yourself small, and there's really no need for that. Sixers have fired Nurse. Not gonna hit hard. LOL. Yeah, I'm not gonna be surprised at all. At all. Who do you think is the next star not named KD to ask out? Devin Booker? No. Who would be a star to ask out? I don't know, man. So here's the thing. I was thinking about, potentially teams whose entire trajectory might be changing this offseason. And one team that I keep thinking about is Dallas. Dallas and San Antonio, right? So based on what happens with Wemby, I don't know, if De'Aaron Fox is going to make a ton of sense if Victor Wembanyama is out for, multiple years or some crazy shit like that. You just never know with blood clots. It's very you're gambling. You know what I mean? Like it could be a year, it could be 3 months, it could be 8 months. We don't know, but it's a scary thing, and he's a franchise player, so you take caution. Dallas, right? Now, a big part of Dallas's equation for trading for Anthony Davis was Kyrie Irving is in his prime, exiting his prime. The two of these players will probably be able to give us, 2-3 years of contention window. They said 4 years. They're stupid. They probably meant 2. And one of those years was this year. And now this year is completely cooked. And I've never seen the basketball gods more angry than I have at the Dallas Mavericks. Like really, they're just like they're dropping like flies. Okay. So you look at that roster right now, you look at guys like Klay Thompson, who are signed to long-term money and are regressing steadily. You look at a guy like Kyrie Irving, who could miss most of next year, and who knows what version of him is going to come back, but he's north of 33 when he comes back. Anthony Davis, man. What if Anthony Davis is the next piece to move? And I think the Raptors should probably try and make a deal for Anthony Davis. Now, that sounds stupid. I think a lot of people are going to probably, look at that and be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Anthony Davis plus Brandon Ingram. Are we trying to start a hospital ward? Yeah. I mean, sure, I get it. But if those players are healthy, holy shit, you have like a chance, right? And I think between AD, Scotty, and Brandon Ingram, you would have like the best front court in the league. That's saying a lot, right? Now, what would it take to get Anthony Davis? It would take a lot. It would take all your young assets. It would take probably some picks. It would probably take either RJ Barrett or Emmanuel Quickley or both. Like it would be a very calculated, risk, but it would be the type of consolidation move that allows you to contend right away, right? See, it takes 2 to tango, man. If AD was 2-3 years younger, you don't have a chance to do this, right? You don't have the assets without Scotty to do it. So, yeah, I just think I wonder if, from an optics perspective, from a public relations perspective, it would be devastating for the Dallas Mavericks to then pivot off of AD. But I think at this point, the fans are so checked out of that organization that they would welcome back a pivot towards rebuilding. If because there's nothing more depressing than basically becoming the mid 2000s New York Knicks, or the KG Paul Pierce led Brooklyn Nets, like an aging team that's very expensive and everyone's always injured and there's no hope and the picks are gone. So I just think at this point, if they could recoup 5 picks or 4 picks for Anthony Davis, they'd be smart to do that. Apart from the Raptors, there are definitely other teams that could make a compelling offer for Anthony Davis. One of those teams being the OKC Thunder. I think with Isaiah Hardenstein. I think some of these teams are about to get hella expensive. I think the OKC Thunder are about to get hella expensive in a couple of years, when Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren come up for those extensions. So, we'll see. We'll see. But if the Raptors, do not intend to pay RJ Barrett and Grady Dick on that next contract, this might be, the type of smart move that you make as an organization where you're able to give up a couple of really young assets that have some upside. The other team is able to sell that to their fan base as, hey, look, we have some pieces for a rebuild. We have a starting, wing duo and a whole bunch of draft picks coming back. And then, yeah, for the Raptors, you just get to consolidate all of that into a major, major, major impact player like Anthony Davis, who would immediately become the best player on your team. So I don't know. I think it's something worth exploring, and I think the Raptors should probably look at Anthony Davis and also Devin Booker this summer. I guess it really depends on how high they are on Scotty and Brandon Ingram. If they believe that those two are one major, third piece away from contending, and that they believe that they have enough around them, like between the draft pick, wherever that draft pick lands, Jacoby, Ochai, Jamal, like you have all these little, filler pieces. If you feel like you have enough around all those guys that you could actually trade, significant like 2, 3 core pieces and some draft picks, because again, the calculus around draft picks is the same, right? You don't necessarily want to lock yourself into a team where it's like Anthony Davis is healthy or we're fucked for the next 4 years. But if you do move off of some draft picks, it's largely going to be because you believe in your young talent, right? And you believe that Jamison Battle and Jonathan Mobo and Ulrich, like these players are going to grow into good fits for the team. Continue missing, my friend. So you're saying swap out IQ for Booker. That's never going to be a 1-for-1 exchange. The gap between how much those players are worth on the trade market is so large. I think you would probably end up trading pick number 5 if you got the 5th pick plus Emmanuel Quickley plus a future pick for Devin Booker. The gap is huge in terms of what they're worth. But you never know. I mean, look, we've seen Luka Doncic get traded. So, far be it for me to say anyone is really safe, apart from maybe Victor Wembanyama and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic. Like, there's not a lot of players who are completely safe. I think the new CBA puts a lot of stress on teams financially. And, as we see these teams that haven't managed this super, super well, you might see teams like, I don't know, like, I think the Raptors, maybe the Pistons, there's some teams that could be on the market. And then there are some teams like Phoenix, Dallas, Sacramento that could be looking to dump assets, right? Like Domantas Sabonis could be on the trade market this summer. I think he could be for sure. Devin Booker, De'Aaron Fox, right? There are just teams that are just going to get hella expensive. Mikal Bridges, I don't know. Someone in New York could be on the market. I mean, shoot. Yeah. Anyways, I have really appreciated keeping these lives under an hour. But without the Collins, there just isn't enough oxygen for me to continuously talk about this team beyond the 50-minute mark. I can't tell you I'm excited about the season or overly happy about this season, other than the fact that I do see great progress from young players. I do see no crazy impulsive moves that completely mortgage the future for the Raptors. And I see a hopeful summer. I see a hopeful summer ahead. But I don't think I'm the only Raptor fan right now that's just kind of counting down the days for the season to just be over so that we can get to the draft lottery and we could just be done with this and we can just start fresh. I feel like at this point, I think we all just need a fresh start. And I don't think more Colin Castleton minutes are necessarily the answer, or Orlando Robinson. Like, I think we're just in the Tampa tank, time. And the best case scenario of this is Chicago completely falls apart and you fall into the play in by accident. I would feel differently if the Raptors were playing really inspired basketball and I could see that this team was really trying to chase it. I would feel differently if Brandon Ingram was playing and we saw a completely different level. I would feel differently if we were beating good teams right now. If the remaining schedule was all like Boston and Cleveland and we were competitive against those teams and beating those teams, then I'll be like, all right. I think it's just there's really nothing to gain from beating the Wizards and there's everything to lose. So at that time, you're kind of rooting for the loss, but then you also don't want them to lose because you're a Raptor fan and I don't know. It's complicated. I'm a little bit drowsy. These medicines have been hitting my head, but I am really glad because my girlfriend just went for a week to San Francisco, and I am going to use this time to cleanse and reorganize myself a little bit. And I mentioned this before, but there's going to be more of a year-round effort towards Penn Dance this year, so I'm really excited about that. I realized that our graphic screen still says Penn Dance is coming up. I apologize. The dates for next year have been set to February 26th to March 1st. So, yes, rest and recover. Yes, I will rest and recover. I slept so much today. I will be on the panel Wednesday and Thursday. So, yes. So in 2 days. So hopefully I'll have some time to rest up. And I yeah, I think there's 1 or 2 games this year that will be not this year, this month, that I will also be doing on playback with the PC crew. So I personally can't wait to get back on PC. It's been way too long since I've been on an episode. So I'm looking forward to Wednesday. I have been trying to keep up as much as I can, but obviously a lot of still doing the Pen Dance wrap up stuff, man. It's crazy. Crazy. You run a film festival, and I gotta tell you, like the coolest thing about um Pen Dance this year was how many people reached out afterwards and said they wanted to help. One of my favorite basketball content creators reached out to me after Penn Dance and said, I want to run free ads for you next year ahead of Penn Dance. Like, his videos get hundreds of thousands of views. And I was just like, wow, that's amazing. Like, I was like, that's huge. And there's so many people who reached out, said, how can we be on the jury? How can we help you with sponsorships? How can we help you with this? So I feel like we must have done something right over the last, 3-4 months by talking about this over and over and letting people know that we want to grow this, So I think that's been good. So yeah, hopefully you can make some Pen Dance merch for next year too. We had Pen Dance merch, Mike. We had the hoodies and we had the t-shirts. They're very basic merch. Maybe we can get more advanced merch. And Johnny Supernova, thank you for all your help with what you were pitching with Basketball State. I hope that really works out for you. I messaged Gabe about your offer, and again, that would be great if that works. Chris saying, at least the team finishing first overall gets the best odds of the draft can walk away with something if they get swept in the playoffs. 84 games in the season with nothing to show for. Oh, okay. Yeah, for sure. You know what was funny as hell? And I think that the people who attended Penn Ants actually found this out. Do y'all realize that this Puma hat never came off the entire time? I mean, it came off for like a day or half a day, but I actually just wore a hoodie and this Puma hat the entire event. And people, like people who actually follow Pensare Basketball and the panel, saw me and they were just like, "Oh, you really like this is like is that a statement at this point?" It was totally a statement. I am the same. Hatless Rob is a myth. It's not true. I was literally hatless on the panel like 2-3 weeks ago, and everyone said I was so much nicer without the hat, and I thought that was weird, but yes. There you go. There you go. Yes. Once every, I want to say 2 to 3 months, I just do an episode without the hat so that people can stop telling me that I'm losing my hair. That's pretty much it. It's like Hoodie Mellow. Same energy. Same energy. It's Hoodie Mellow. That's exactly it. Yeah. All right, man. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a great night. Enjoy yourselves. And I will talk to you on Wednesday. I I think after this week, I will be a little bit more prolific with lives and videos. So just give me one more week to work through, all the emails and all the wrap up stuff for Pen Dance. And after next week, we can start doing player profiles and we can start doing, more nuanced stuff about basketball and the draft and all that stuff. And, it's not lost on me. March Madness is coming up. So, there'll be some reactions there as well. So good stuff. And I'm really hoping for better health because again, like I feel so zapped every day when I wake up and I'm sick and I'm just like I don't want to do anything and I'm just like I want to do a million things but my body's just not cooperating right now. So I appreciate y'all for having the patience and sticking around as these lives have been somewhat not as great the last couple of weeks, but I will get back to my normal self. Actually, I will get back to better than my normal self. I will be Rob 4.0. All right. I kind of like the weather, man. I'm cool with the cold. All right. Talk to y'all later. Bye.